Next is Kurmasana, another one of the gateway postures, and it's getting us deeper into the hip flexion. We start working hip flexion, especially with Marichasana A, so moving deeper into the hip in this direction. And we work it a little bit more deeply with Kurmasana. And then Kurmasana is also kind of the preparation to get us into Supta Kurmasana, which I'll do in the next video. With Kurmasana, it's a turtle pose. So we're kind of going to resemble like going into the shell of a turtle. I like to start for purposes of offering variations, but also just for purposes of mindfully moving into the posture. I like to start with the knees bent, the feet flexed, and the feet, mat width distance apart, or maybe a little bit wider. You'll kind of feel into what works for you as you start to experiment with this posture. So first, allow the knees to fall out to the side and fold forward. So you might either be on the elbows, on the hands, depends on the flexibility in the hips. And I like to let the knees fall out to the side because this isn't where we're going to end, but I like to start like this so that you can allow the pelvis really to move forward into this deep movement in the hips. So once you find your limit here of as far as you're going to go down, you can squeeze the knees back in. And then from here, just depending on how deep you're in it, if you're deep enough so that you can slide the hand underneath the legs, and if you're not sure, try it, and then you'll know. Lean over to the side. On the opposite side, reach the arm through the leg, through underneath the leg, and then lean over to the other side, and the other arm goes underneath the leg. And here already, you can already start to bring in some patterns that are going to be important for the entire posture, which are squeezing the knees in, squeezing the thighs in towards the side of the body, because you're coming for this action of internally rotating the legs. And so we're not actually going to internally rotate the femur bone in the hip socket, but we're making the actions as if to internally rotate so that you get this feeling of drawing in instead of splaying out. Yeah, we're still kind of working with that energy of drawing the energy in. Later on, we're going to start to open it out with some other postures later on in the series. So from here, if the elbows have passed the leg, so this is the elbows have not passed the leg. If the elbows are past the leg, so notice that just means you're deep in it enough where the elbows are past the legs, then you can move deeper. If not, then this can just be your Kurmasana. So if you are going deeper, then you start to, I'm going to put my heels off the mat because if not, it's a little too sticky. You can start to straighten the legs. And as you're straightening, think about that action of drawing in. Drawing in. Toes are pointing up. And maybe you come all the way where the chest is on the floor. And again, feel this action of drawing in. And it feels like you're internally rotating the legs. And it really turns on the posture and activates it. And then another piece to think about is what's happening here and in the arms. The arms are awake, the hands are awake. I like to reach them out back at a diagonal. I've seen them reached out to the side, but I just find reaching them back a little bit helps me to open this up a little bit more so you're not collapsing. This collapsing action is super common here, and it's going to be a problem in Supta Kurmasana if you have this action where the collarbones are sort of moving in towards each other. So set up the pattern now of spreading here, opening, keeping the heart open. Even though we're going into this super ponic form, we're really moving down and inwards like a turtle. We want to keep the heart open still. So make that action of reaching the heart forward and opening across the heart. And something that I think really helps me to find that is press the hands down into the floor and then draw them towards you. They're not going to actually move, but that's the internal action that's happening. Press the hands down and draw them towards the heart, and that automatically opens the heart. And then if you want to take it a step further, you can engage the legs so much that the heels lift off and maybe the hips also lift off. Make sure you keep spiraling the legs inward. And this is kind of fun because you're like balancing on the arms. But you can also just not do that. But if you don't do that, make sure that you keep the legs awake and you keep that drawing in, because it's easy to just like, especially if you're flexible, it's easy to get in that posture and just kind of like relax and just fall asleep, which is great if we were doing like yin yoga, but fortunately or unfortunately, this is Ashtanga yoga. So you want to be super active. You know, even if the heels or the hips aren't lifting, you're still drawing in, waking up the feet, and pressing the hands towards you to keep the heart open. All right. And that's Kurmasana. That's also the preparation into Supta Kurmasana, which we'll get into the next video.